All right. So I'm going to record this meeting. And it's automatically transcribing. That's pretty cool. And I'll post the recording on the WiNDC website and my slides and everything. And it's saying there's a lobby. So let me see if I can disable the lobby. I don't have to let everybody in. And I'll just give it a second because some people might still be coming in. Meeting options. Okay, it's got to be here somewhere. Okay, cool. There we go. So I have it set up so that I had to approve everybody coming into the lobby, so it's slowing things down. Okay. Cool. So what I have here, adjust. So hello, everybody. And it's good to see everybody. I put the cameras to the left, so I look to the left instead of here. And yeah, so I'm
Is it just me or everyone's having some audio issues?
can everybody hear me?
It must be just me. Okay, I'm gonna try to log back.
Sometimes with Teams, the web interface works better, but it depends.
Yeah, I'm trying to integrate Teams a little bit more effectively because most government agencies use Teams, so they have Teams available.
Yeah. If you have a private account, though, sometimes the way you install it, or whether it's the classic or the new one, will affect how it works. So I found that the web interface is sometimes more reliable for calls. That's probably what's going on.
I always select do the newest thing. So I have like the new Outlook, the new Teams. Just want it to be new.
I'm a slow adopter.
Yeah, I'm happier if it breaks a little bit. All right. Got a few here and there. And I'll introduce myself in a second because I have it on the slides. I have it printed out, so I know what I'm doing. Yeah, WiNDC gets to change a little bit. That'll be fun. Hopefully, if you send emails to WiNDC now, you'll get a response. I would say get a response quickly, but I'll leave out the quickly. It'll probably be pretty quick though, because I have to. All right. Hello, Eli. Hello, May. Okay. So I guess I'll get started a little bit here. I'm a big fan of alliteration, so I called this the WiNDC Weekly. And there's also the MPSGE Monthly. I'll talk about that in a minute. And if you're a consortium member, there's no good word. There's no good C word. The consortium century didn't seem to fly. They wanted to meet more than every 100 years. So I just called it the quarterly. It's close enough. All right. What am I going to talk about today? That's a good question. I'll do introductions. I'll introduce myself. Maybe I'll have people say who they are so that I know most of you. I'm going to talk about the website. I'm going to talk about an API. I'm going to talk about some software things that we're working on, WinDC.gms, WinDC.jl, and MPSGE. Some of you know about these things. This one's under construction. Should be good. Whatever data products I'm going to create in the future, and a couple like miscellaneous updates here and there. Nothing too stressful. All right. introductions. I'll start with myself because, you know, why not? Who am I? I'm Mitch Phillipson. I got a PhD in math from Texas A&M University. This is 2015, 10 short years ago. It doesn't feel quite right. My focus was on combinatorics and graph theory, so a lot of discrete structures. It actually comes in pretty useful here because, I mean, economic models to me just seem like trees. More complicated, of course, but they're trees. I was a professor of mathematics for 7 years at St. Edward's University. St. Edward's University is a small private liberal arts school in Austin, Texas. And I think there's like 5,000 undergrads. It is a tuition-driven institution, which means that students paid like $50K a year. So they're walking out of there with $100,000 to $200,000 of debt, and it doesn't feel right. Like that's too much money. So my wife and I decided to leave there and move back to Wisconsin. We're both from Wisconsin. Austin is hot. It's getting hotter. Although it's not too bad this year, I've heard. A lot of rain, sadly. But moved back to Madison. Got a job with WiNDC in 2022, almost 3 years ago now. And I've been with them ever since. I think I got hired as a data scientist. And then I did all the data work Tom wanted me to do. And he's like, I don't know, you want to learn modeling? And I said, okay. So that's where I am now. So what do I like to do? I like data. I like visualization. I like teaching. I'm a very natural teacher. I was a professor for 7 years. Where is my mouse? Just totally gone. There it is. I was a professor for 7 years. I was on a 4-4 load. So if you don't know what a 4-4 is, I taught 4 courses in the fall, 4 courses in the spring, and then typically like 2 courses in the summer for extra pay because it did not pay great. But I also like software. I think you'll see the teaching side come through more than anything. I'll talk about the software we're developing, data aggregation and analysis, things like that, things that are useful for economics. And now I should probably stop for a second, catch my breath. I should do the teaching thing of saying, all right, so we've got 6 people here. That's not too bad. Should I make people do a round robin, introduce themselves?
Sure.
Everybody's super enthusiastic. Okay, C was unmuted. I'll start with him.
Hi, I'm Siom Sangi. I'm an applied economist, ag and resource economist. Most recently was at USDA, the Economic Research Service. I do work on agricultural sector models mostly, plus other things.
All right, I'll go to, in my thing, May would be next. And you're muted, May, heads up.
There we go. Different location of the button for from Zoom. So I graduated from University of Colorado at Boulder, and after that I went on to because my interest in keep doing the MPSG type of CGE modeling. So I was recommended by Professor Balestri and to continue working on that end and with at a consulting firm. So we're a small group and led by David Montgomery and work with the Tom Rutherford's I would say another person who being directly coached by Tom Rutherford, Suganda Tuladar, and then Paul Bernstein. So we're like a 3-person group running the, it was called MRNE. It's a integrated macroeconomic and electricity sector model. So from there onwards, the whole group moved from Charles River Associates to Narrow Economic Consulting. So we kept doing the same thing. And then afterwards, after my manager retired, so I moved up to MIT and work with the group over here, joint program, and receiving a lot of knowledge about on the climate science side, and still working on the macroeconomic side with the MPSG model. So it's like the tradition over here, and that's since 2022 I started joining the WiNDC workshop and knowing Mitch and we have some history over here.
Yeah, I like that manager retires and then have to switch careers. I feel it. All right, how about Noe?
Hello, everyone. I think I have had the pleasure to meet some of you, and also obviously Steve was a colleague back in the ERS and the USDA. I left the agency. I forked about 2 months and a half ago, and I've been having a lot of free time. So I've been pursuing a lot of different projects and advancing all my hobbies. So about my interests, I recently moving into Julia from R. I've been using R for, I don't know, like over a decade or something. And now I'm getting very excited about transferring all my skills now into Julia. I think, I chat with Mitch about this. I'm very interested in making my research very applied to the stakeholders, thinking about data, dashboards, reports, and so on. Somehow moving into the software development part, mostly because of the data dashboards. So you might be wondering, okay, so this guy suddenly has 40 more hours in his week. What does he do? Well, I think I'm ready to retire. I like pursuing many other hobbies. I except don't have the retirement age, so that means I still need to work. I'm trying to get a job. But two things that I've become very excited about is cycling. So you can see I actually have my cycling attire to that because I went out this morning. I live in Chicago next to the lake, and it's such a beautiful ride, honestly. And the second thing is I'm into theology and Bible translations. So I have a bunch of books and like reading stuff from researchers from Berkeley University, particularly around Jewish culture, traditions, and so on. Oh, it's been such an exciting time for me to spend time on these books, really. Pleasure meeting you all. Nice seeing you, Siwagan. And nice seeing you, Mitch.
Yeah. All right, how about Eli?
Yeah, I'm Eli Lazarus. First, I wanted to ask who just spoke. I only see initials and N, so I was wondering. I didn't catch your name.
Yeah,
we don't have chat.
I was having some issues with my computer. I don't know. Somehow it just fixed when I put my my initials. So I'm Noe Nava. I can type my name.
N-O-E with an
don't have
apostrophe.
chat, I don't think.
Really?
N-O-E with an apostrophe. Well, I don't have it. Maybe others do.
Thank you.
They don't have. My chat is disabled, actually.
Yeah, I think it says team. I don't know. Anyway, here we are. Technology. All right. I'll just introduce myself. So I'm Eli Lazarus. I'm in California. I did my PhD in UC Berkeley with David Antoff, who is a big Julia evangelist and developer and climate economist. He's one of the sort of fun and memey. And working with him, we brought Julia into CGE in terms of the initiative to build this MPSGE Julia version. So that was my PhD work. And then Mitch has been key in moving that forward, and we work together now on that ongoing. Mitch does a lot of work on it, as probably you all know. Currently at Stanford as a postdoc in an interdisciplinary program at Stanford, energy focused. I am looking for next steps, so people, anyone who knows of potential jobs for me in California, keep me in mind and let me know. But I'm working with Larry Goulder at Stanford, so I'm doing climate related work using our Julia package, the MPSG Julia package, and using the Julia version of the WiNDC data calibration and structuring process. So I'm actually actively sort of using both of those together in my research. My research currently, primarily my job market paper is on carbon and methane emission policy and the interactions between those. And again, using these Julia packages and using Julia for all the sort of visualizations and so forth. I think that's probably the main things, right? Yeah. I was like, wait, what else? Yeah. Nice to meet you all. If I haven't met some of you now.
All right, and last but not least, we have Greg Allward.
Hi, yeah, Greg Allward. I'm actually retired now, but most recently from the University of Idaho. But before that, I was mostly in-plan and the Forest Service and so on like that. So I've worked with Tom for many, many years, and mostly that was me trying to organize in-plan social accounting data so that he could build CGE models with it. So yeah, I'm more interested in organizing the data in a accounting framework so that it's all pretty reconciled and everything like that. And we're just about, with some folks at the University of Idaho, we're just about to come out with an open source data set, which is basically social accounting systems down to the county level, about 500 sectors and so on like that. So probably later on this summer, you might want to look at that. I'll let you know when it's available.
Yep. Yeah, very interesting. All right, cool. Yeah, thanks everybody for introducing yourselves. So what is the purpose of this meeting? WiNDC Weekly, I'll just plan it as a weekly meeting to discuss updates and developments in the WiNDC project. It's open to everybody. Anybody that wants to attend is welcome to attend. I see it as a platform to share ideas and ask questions, collaborate, things like that. How to join and participate. So I've made a Slack channel, if I could. And you guys don't have the chat at all? You can't see anything that I've typed?
No, my chat's disabled. I don't know if anyone else is.
Maybe because you're external? That's
Yes,
super weird.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
might
great.
be because we are external. I also cannot
Yeah.
see the chat.
That's very strange. All right, well, I might have to fix that or move back to Zoom. I thought Teams would be better. It's a shame. I'll share this link. I'll make it available. I'll put it on the website. Or you can send me an email and I'll send it to you. That's no problem at all. Slack is like a community. I would say it's between Slack and Teams. The disadvantage of Slack is that after August 1st, we lose our free premium, which means things will disappear eventually. That's not the worst. The other option is Teams. But Teams has issues, as we can see. So I might stick with Slack. Be fairly easy. Be a good way to engage with other contributors. I'll make sure that like stuff gets updated, so you know where to find like slides and recordings, and if I do example code, stuff like that, so you can find stuff. Yeah. All right. So this thing has a schedule. I'll just keep it this. We used to have a WiNDC meeting every Tuesday at 11 a.m. I'll just sort of keep that the same. Be around an hour. It'll be online, Teams or Zoom, probably Teams at least until December because I sent out the meeting link. Yeah. How to join. So there's going to be a link in the Slack channel and you can add it to your calendar. It'll also be on the website so that people know where to find it and stuff like that. All right. So this is a picture from Tom's retirement. He retired June 7th. It's at a small venue on the Wisconsin River. Obviously, that's Tom, that's me. This is our postdoc Swan and our spouses and a baby. It was actually a surprise party. So Tom walked in and didn't know it was happening, which is impressive because I think somebody emailed him apologizing for not being able to come to a surprise party, but it was still a surprise. So that's the one useful thing with Tom. You can send him an email and he won't necessarily remember, which is a positive sometimes. So what have I been doing since Tom retired? Because Tom retired on the 7th, and it is now a month and a day later. So the University of Wisconsin, basically I had like 4 weeks of vacation to take within about 3 weeks of time. And it was a use it or lose it situation, so I had to use it. So obviously what I did is I rebuilt the WiNDC website. It's a good use of vacation time, I assume. So, and I know people are going to ask, what was wrong with the old website? It's a very, very logical question. It was very difficult to find information. It was implemented in raw HTML. So every link was hard-coded to be point to a specific HTML page, which is really bad if you have to, I don't know, update it at some point. So that made it really hard to do. And there are also a ton of broken links. So here is the current WiNDC website, windc.wisc.edu. Let's say I wanted to find all the presentations that have been given by WiNDC. It's in a resource center, and you click on presentations, and there's there. Oh, cool. There they all are. But then you click on online seminars, and then there's more. And then you click on, I think courses has even more. And like papers. I found it to be fairly hard to find stuff. Anybody that's dealt with this knows, getting started. So I can see the current version, but how do I see older versions? I don't know. I don't know, and I helped build this website. Like I update this. So that's the problem. It's also just really hard to update because, like I said, it's raw HTML. Everything is very hard to update. So what I've done, this is just running on my local machine, and I'm getting it. The last part of June is a really bad week to do anything that requires other people at a university because everybody takes off because their vacation expires. But this will be pushed to be production fairly soon. And I've changed it a little bit so that if I click models, I can very easily see all the old versions. And it just makes sense. And you can see it's going to download it. Same with the data sets. So I can very easily see old versions. I can see what's available. I see, oh, this is linked to model version this. I can click and get that too. These are the kinds of things that I'm very good at. I'm very good at organizing, and I'm very good at doing a ton of work to transition that old website. It's a lot of work. The benefit here is it's going to be much easier for me to update. If I push updates to the data, it's essentially an SQL database. I can just push to it. And then boom, it'll just update automatically, even if the data version doesn't change or the model version. So it's very nice, very easy. Where is my slides? There we go. So the new website, as you can see, it's going to look very similar to the old one. I've migrated all of the content, and it's going to be easier to maintain and update. I also realized I didn't show you the presentations. This is all of the presentations, and like the slides and stuff. So it's very obvious what is where. So it's very easy to see. The goal of the new website, I mean, people are going to use this as a resource, and I want that to be easy to find. That's the idea. Different things coming to the website, being able to search and filter. So if you want to see all the papers by Tom, should be very easy to do. Improving the documentation for WiNDC. I've done this a little bit in GitHub via README files. That's not exactly the best way to do it. I'd like it to be more succinct and focused. And it'll also allow me to update it much easier. Because updating the current one, like I said, is a pain. The other big advantage of the new website is that it will allow me to make an API. Because I believe that data should be easy to obtain and use. And right now, it's fairly easy to obtain and use. But how do you build the data from scratch? Right? The way that I do it, I download the data, I place it in a very specific directory, and then I run a script. So if you're using the GAMS files at the moment, you download those files, you have to put them in the right spot, which is well documented, and then you get to run your script and run your data. The much better process would just be to have one line in your code that downloads the data for you if you don't already have it downloaded. Because then you don't have to worry about our website, you don't have to like browse around, it just goes. It can be saved, it'll be able to be saved anywhere on your computer, you just tell it where it is. So if you're doing multiple models with the same data, you can just have the data in one spot and have the models call that data. You can do that with the GAMS code at the moment, but it would be a pain in the neck. It'd be a pain. I'm reading my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. And this data that you download via the API, it's going to be fully calibrated, fully balanced, fully ready to go into any model. Because that's the way it should be. So one big question, I think I can be pretty safe in giving you guys a challenge because I don't think you guys are going to totally know. If Drew or Tom were here, they might know. So the WiNDC, the national model, the household model, all of them have intermediate demand as a variable, as a parameter. And my question is how do we actually create that? And the way you'd find out is you'd first go to the Python programs. And you'd say, okay, intermediate demand, that's coming from the BEA use table. And all the Python does is it takes the code, or it takes that data and it makes it long, and it cleans it up a little bit, like it regularizes the names and all that. And then it gets exported as a GDX, loaded into GAMS. GAMS then does more manipulation to it. So it'll take the negative flows from the use and put them into supply and vice versa. And then it'll calibrate, and then it does other, it like drops some data and does some stuff. It's very confusing. I don't know exactly, well, okay. I know where it comes from, but a standard user, I wouldn't expect to know exactly where that data comes from, and that's really important. And that's essentially what this is saying. The way that I create the data is I manually download it, run the data stream, and then it gets loaded in GAMS and is further manipulated and calibrated. And that's just, it's not maintainable because it's hard to see where the data comes from and where it's going and what is getting modified. So the better strategy, and yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying here. Difficult to track changes, hard to maintain and debug. The better strategy is just have a unified data processing pipeline. I'll probably do it in Julia just because it's much easier to program it. It's easier to write software in Julia than it is in GAMS. And I already have most of the work done in Julia. Plus I can calibrate, that's why it's not in Python. Use the WiNDC API to handle data retrieval and processing. So have it just an automated system that pulls the data down, pushes it into the database so that users can just, they don't have to be concerned. They can just pull it and use it. It'll also make it easier for me because right now it's kind of a pain in the neck. Oh, let me see. Oh, my goal for this, the WiNDC API, I'd like it by the end of July. We'll see. It should be easier now that all of our IT people are no longer on vacation. Always a useful thing. And realistically, so how do I want to say this? I don't want to be mean to the people that built it, but the WiNDC build repository is kind of bloated. There's a lot of code that doesn't need to be there, a lot of data manipulation that doesn't need to be there. So I'm working on a new version of the GAMS code. Instead of the repository WiNDC build, I'll call it WiNDC.gms, obviously in reference to WiNDC.jl. That's how Julia packages are named. It'll be more modular, easy to maintain. It'll use, obviously, the new WiNDC API to retrieve data. I'll document it much better and provide a lot of examples. And I'll migrate the GitHub repository, again, WiNDC.gms. It's currently a private repo on the WiNDC like GitHub organization. And it's working pretty well. I'm planning for it to be very lightweight. You You may wonder why not just put it in the current repository. The big reason is that the current repository is about a gig to a gig and a half if you download it, because previous iterations of me, before I started here, they were uploading binary files, like the raw GDX files, which just makes the repository blow up in size. So it's kind of a nightmare to clone the repo, so it takes forever. Running the code is cumbersome. Anybody that's using the GAMS files is probably just used to the code being cumbersome to run, so they don't see this as too much of a problem. But like if I want to run the household repository first, I need to like probably run core and then like state level disaggregation, and then I can finally run the household. I'd like to just grab the data for the household via API and run the household model, make changes, and just automatically move along. There's also a lot of unnecessary files and directories, and a lot of things that will be unnecessary with the new API, because I won't have to do that data manipulation. I said this before, GAMS is not great at software development. You can't write functions, and that's kind of useful to write software. I'm going to preserve all of the models that we have. Nothing's going to go away. I'd like to have this out in August, after the new API, obviously, because I need something to use the API with. And I'll announce that, and I'll give details about how to use it, and I'll give examples. Because in parallel with this, we also have WiNDC.jl. And this is essentially a Julia package for working with WiNDC data. So you'll automatically be able to retrieve and process the data. It'll also contain all the models from the GAMS code, probably written in MPSGE. I'll talk more about MPSGE on the next slide. But the difference between MPSGE and Julia and MPSGE and GAMS is MPSGE and Julia is fully open source. You can see all of the code. I have a link to the repo on the next slide. I'll open it up. You can see the cost functions and all of the constraints immediately, and we're working on making that better. Eli.
I want to interject just before you sort of move on to MPSGE, Julia, to spruik this package here, this WiNDC Julia package. It's doing stuff the GAMS version is not doing and making it easier to be able to like disaggregate sectors cleanly that are not disaggregated in the BEA, like to make your own splits and splits by like imports different to exports different to intermediate demand. It's making aggregation and sort of customized versions of which sectors you want from detailed compared to summary really clean. It's just a really clean set of functions here that it's going to get better, and I'm a big advocate of it and a user of it, and I'm really excited for its potential, honestly.
Yeah, Eli is much better at saying nice things about himself and others than I am. So I appreciate Eli. I'm sort of like, yeah, it's there, it's great. And he's like, this is why. Yeah, thanks for that. There we go. And then people are going to ask, why use Julia at all? Why use WiNDC.jl? It's free. It's open source. You got to pay money for GAMS. It's a modern programming language. It's kind of a shot at GAMS. It's case sensitive, for example. Julia is also fast, very, very fast. Like if you write it correct, it's like C level speed. And you can also integrate modeling and visualization in one package, is exactly what Noe was talking about. Yeah. And it's just easy. You can just write a function that will solve your model and then spit out a graph. You don't have to export your data to Excel and then make a pivot chart every time. That's what Tom would always do. Tom was very good at Excel, and I just don't want to use Excel anymore. I'm going to discuss this more. I'm going to discuss this more in future WiNDC weeklies, because I think that's a good spot for it, how to use it, what to do, stuff like that, and just try to make it better. I want to know how people are going to use it so that we can implement features that people are going to use. And I got to go fast. Okay, now I get to talk about MPSGE, which is pretty great. Here's the repository. I usually just search MPSGE GitHub, and then it just comes up. You can clone this, you can use it. There's documentation. This is probably the right one. I have this. Yep, that's the same thing. We should probably update that. Might be on me. There are some examples. I'm working on getting more. I'm gonna come back to the browser here in a second, but I'm going to talk about this a little bit. If you aren't familiar, what is MPSGE? Just put simply, it automates writing CGE models. Why do the work when something else does? I really want the tagline to be leave the math to the mathematicians. You guys do economics. Let us do the math, right? So what are the features? You can write CG models in a high-level language. Higher level than Julia, like MPSG is its own little language. Every single quantity in MPSG.jl can be a parameter, it could be a variable. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And the simple syntax allows for the creation of very complex models in a very few lines of code. So what I've done is I've just clicked this link. Here's the URL. I can't put that in chat, apparently. GTAP9 and Julia, MPSGE. I'll send this link about. But this package right here is GTAP9 and Julia. I have full directions on what to do. If you get something that's unexpected or like the solve fails, you're probably missing the path license. That's the most common mistake here. That's the most common error. And within the past couple of weeks, Eli and I have worked very hard and gotten a new version of MPSGE out, which means, so this function right here is the function that creates the GTAP9 model. You can probably tell because it's called GTAP9. Clever name, I know. But if I scroll down, this is the start of the initialization of the model. These are model parameters with default values given here. And a description so I know what it's doing later. So these are variables that you can change the value of after the first solve. So you can perform counterfactuals. We can add more. These are the ones from the canonical WiNDC GTAP implementation. Sectors and consumers, very concise. So this is indexed over capital G. This is indexed over R, goods and regions. And they have descriptions. But the real magic is this. Oh, let me zoom out just a hair. This is the entire GTAP model. This fully describes the GTAP9 canonical model. It's very short, it's very succinct. But the real magic is right here. So I'm going to talk about this block just a little bit, just for like 5 minutes, because I like it. Okay, this is the production block. This is essentially defining the cost functions for the Y sector. It's indexed over G and R, so I can just use G and R throughout here. And this defines the nestings. Okay, annotate. Sure, up here. And there we go. Okay, so this defines this. This tells me there are 2 top-level nests, T and S. T stands for transformation, S stands for substitution. They both have elasticity of 0, elasticity of substitution. They don't have to be called T and S. Call them T and S for, that's what Tom always called them. That's what they are in MPSGE. You can call them whatever you want. You could type out transformation. You just have to copy that here. Okay, from there, this looks like kind of magical, but what it's telling me is there's a node M sitting under S. So I go down, I call that M. And it has an elasticity given by this value right here, whatever E sub G is. Elasticity of substitution, indexed by G, that G is coming from here. That's cool. Then I have another one, VA. VA. that sits below S, has that elasticity. And then this one is much more interesting because this is an index nest. So from here, I'm just going to call it N. It's indexed over I, and I think one of the I's is like oil. And another one of the I's is like textiles. And it'll create a very, very, very complex tree from just this. So these parts here define the non-leaf portions of the tree. These are the leaves. So PGR is sitting below T, so this has a P, G, R. And then like this guy, it's sitting below nest I. So here I would get P, oil, because the I has to match. And then this one would have P, tech. And then, oh, this is another nest. This would also have PM. PM. So basically you get the cost of the good and the import price all wrapped into one. And it does that for each subtree. So that's sort of the power of MPSGE. You can create these really nested structures with very little code. If you were asked to write the explicit equations for this, I think your first response would be, I'd rather not. Because we have the explicit equation, like the explicit algebraic versions of these, and they are not the prettiest. How do I stop annotating? Probably like that. Okay, cool. I'm going to talk more about MPSGE in a future WiNDC weekly, and of course the MPSGE monthlies. I'll do that one. It's not entirely clear how I stop annotating. Guess I'll just keep annotating forever. That's fine. And so this is going to be kind of mean, but I consider MPSGE.jl to be MPSGE version 3. Because MPSGE version 1 is the one that people that use MPSGE use. It's built into GAMS. MPSGE version 2 is a dream that Tom has had for a long time, and it hasn't gotten done. But this one's out, and this one's ready to go. So it's version 3 to search for version 2, right? There we go. And I think the next WiNDC Weekly, I'm going to talk about MPSGE.jl and how it can be used to create and solve models. And I'll also announce the MPSGE monthly. I want to hammer that out. Mainly, I want to talk to Eli to make sure he's available. Just to make sure that, you know, the people that are really going to care are there. Okay, 2 more slides and then I'll stop. I promised 2 new data products. My first one's going to be bilateral trade data for the US. So asking questions like, oh, I have that down below, I'll wait. And county level data. County level data I can now put on the back burner because if InPlan is going to do that, I can focus on this one and then come out with that one. That'd be actually not so bad. There we go. So for the bilateral trade data, you can answer questions like how do soybean tariffs affect Wisconsin farmers? And then I can explain that to my neighbors and they won't listen. I live in a very rural area. There's actually a field right down from the road from me where the corn is already taller than I am. It's kind of nuts. It's not supposed to be that tall yet. We had a saying, the corn should be knee-high by the 4th. Now it's much taller. That was more northern Wisconsin, but yeah. Bilateral trade created with a gravity model. So it's actually going to be, it's going to make sense. It's going to be described. And the data, I'm going to do my best to make it include state imports and exports to other states and countries. Tom laid a lot of the groundwork for this. That's why I'm optimistic I can do it. And I think that would be a very useful thing. I also think it'd be very necessary to have an API for it because my bet is that it's going to be several gigabytes in size. So I'd like to be able to have you be able to aggregate the data before downloading it. So you could aggregate it to like different regions of the US, like maybe census regions, something like that. Leave certain states broken out. But that's where the API is going to shine. Big data that you just don't need all of it. County level data, exactly what you'd expect. I'll have it. I'll work to have it disaggregated to the household region. Maybe I could do county level data with bilateral trade and really crash my computer. It'd be interesting to see, but I don't know. County level data is interesting because most counties don't do much. Like I look at the state of Wisconsin, and essentially I've talked to Tom about this. 80% of the GDP in Wisconsin is Milwaukee and Madison. So Milwaukee County and Dane County. Dane County houses Madison. 80%. So most of the counties in Wisconsin, I don't want to say don't matter because I'm from one of the counties that don't matter. But it's a lot of data and the models start to get very large, so things start to take a long time. Point of the matter is aggregation is super important here. Like you could break out, you could just have say, okay, I want Dane County, I want Milwaukee County, and then the rest of the state can just be one blob. I think that's the useful part there. For both of these, I'll include canonical models as well. I'll write those. They'll probably be in MPSGE because we spent so long writing it, I'm going to use it. And writing the algebraic versions is just, it's kind of a waste of time. It takes too long. Okay. The final updates, working groups. We'll have a few working groups on the WiNDC Slack, or we already do. Talking to Noe about Julia. Eli and I use Slack quite a bit. That's how we talk to each other. I can send you the link to join. I thought I could do that now, but apparently Teams doesn't like doing that. It's a great place just to share information, what you've been doing, what I've been doing, and like catch up. It's very quick. I didn't talk to students on Slack. I talked to them on like other, like I taught a course this summer. We used Teams because everybody's in the UW system, so it's easy. And I would respond right away. I usually do. What do I'd say to my students, I don't have kids and the video games I play are single player, so I can pause them. So I'll probably just respond right away. I don't have much going on. I want to make Eli feel bad, but I went on vacation up to northern Wisconsin, and my wife and I were kayaking and doing some fishing. And then he sent me a message. I'm just in the kayak, so I just pull up my phone and respond real quick. Didn't take me long. Yeah, if you're interested in learning more about MPSGE, any WiNDC data product, I can't speak. That's not a good sign for hosting a meeting. Julia programming, if you want to talk about data analysis, visualization, or any software development or engineering, I'd be more than happy to chat your ear off about it because these are things that I like to talk about. Very much so. Just contact me if you're interested because we can form it. 100%. And then I can't end without talking about funding, because funding is going to be hard. We have funding to continue at least through the end of 2025. I think the EPA is going to know whether or not they can fund us for another year, but I think the big beautiful bill is going to say no. So we'll see. We'll see. I will say, a majority of our funding comes from the US federal government, 2/3 of it at the moment. Very soon to be half of it because USITC, they have to make cuts. And we're a pretty easy one to cut, unfortunately. But I'm going to work hard. That's sort of what I do. Work hard, secure more funding, more funders, see what I can do. Might as well go down swinging, right?
I'm hoping that USDA, I mean, their budget was only cut maybe 7 million, and they've lost a lot of staff. So my guess is that they're going to be in the situation that they were in 2017, where they had actually a lot of money for external contracts relative to staffing costs, and we'll see how that changes. But I'm hoping as long as Ron is still there with the data to state framework, maybe you can extend that. I think that hopefully will be. And I think he's been working hard on Farm, and I'm sure he'd tell us if he was on the call for the next version of Farm being based on the WiNDC. Kind of that framework. So I think that'll be that should be an easy win, I think.
Yeah, that is that's my hope as well. I know the REAP model is in a lot of trouble at USDA. The farm model is, of course, very important. Yeah, I plan to send a couple emails to like Nick Gallagher. He's very interested in REAP. See if he's interested in doing something. And of course, you guys, especially the former USDA people. You guys know stuff. You guys know people.
Who
trying
were
to
you
get money
saying
to
was that USDA? Sorry, see what you were saying. It's Juan. Is his name?
Ron.
Ronald Sands.
Oh, Ron.
Sands. Yeah.
Ron. Yeah. I know Ron. I misheard.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my game plan. Just, work constantly until the money runs out, and then see what I can do. And hopefully the money doesn't run out and I just work constantly forever. That'd be great. It'd be ideal.
Actually, another thing at ERS, there's a group in the Food Economics Division where they are also trying to build a CG model based on their environmental input-output framework, FEDS. They've been in transition because the main person was retiring as well. But I think they did, I can't believe I'm already forgetting names, only being away 2 months. But they did attend the jump out of GAMS and your Julia workshop. So maybe again, that might be another division that might be interested to, once they have their CG modeling working with Sherman Robinson, they might want to also make it improve their work stream, by maybe integrating it with Julia, the modeling and the data handling with Julia too. So that could actually be, and again, they're going to be probably in a similar position where they might actually have quite a bit of resources relative to staff. So hopefully that'll also be a possibility.
And this is the time of year to start preparing those. So it's going to be a big part of my life for the next while.
Yeah, funding first, work second. That's a really good perspective and a hopeful one, I think. I appreciate hearing that. Like the fact that the money's shifted less than the staff.
Yep.
And again, Ron will know more, and I'm not sure if he's still planning on organizing a modeling consortium at ERS modeling consortium meeting, which we had tried to do annually, whether that's still on for the fall. But he'll probably, if it is on, I know he'll try and get you involved, Mitch, and then you'll be able to maybe get some firsthand view in terms of what's going on, and hopefully that'll lead to something concrete in terms of getting some collaboration. But I think right now everyone has been, as you know, in terms of what's been happening, it's, people have just been worried about whether they're actually going to be able to work or not, or be moved across the country or whatever. So hopefully the dust will settle by fall, but
not likely, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll all hope so. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Cool, I think I should call it. If you ever do have questions or anything, or want to discuss WiNDC stuff, feel free to send me an email. I'll get that Slack link distributed as well, because apparently Teams disables everything unless you're a UW-Madison employee.
I think there was a way, I looked it up quickly to sort of enable it, but it's like you'll have to find it in the thing. Probably good to do before the next meeting.
I'll do some research. I hope it's my fault. That'd be great.
I think it looks like, on a quick look, it looks totally possible.
Good. All right, cool. So I'll say
good on you, Mitch. I'm just, doing the work, and let's keep it going. Obviously I'm here to, if there's any ideas I have, but it's great. There's a lot of good work and a lot of potential, and we just got to make the right connections. And thanks for setting the meeting up.
Yeah. And what's the mantra? Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
Is it? Is that? Oh, that's from
Yeah, it's Finding
that
Dory.
fish movie. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they go to
Trouble with
Australia.
Cherry Water. Oh, it's the best one. The second one.
No, the first one, they go to Sydney, don't they?
Mm.
If they went to Melbourne, he'd know.
Maybe.
All right, cool. I'll wave goodbye to everybody. I'll let you leave. And just let me know if you have anything.
Thank you, Mitch, for organizing.
Yeah.
Take care,
Thank you guys
everyone.
for coming. Yeah.
Thank you, Mitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop recording.